They agreed to 1 hour. That was the rule. It wasn't unspoken or assumed or casual. It was said out loud twice actually when they set the plan. An hour for dinner. A catch-up. Something easy. Something contained. They both needed that boundary. They hadn't seen each other properly in almost a year. Not since life had rearranged itself the way it tends to do when no one's looking. New routines. New responsibilities. Less time for lingering conversations that didn't serve an immediate purpose. Still, when she texted him dinner sometime, just to catch up, he'd felt that familiar pause before replying, the one where memory and possibility overlap. 1 hour, he'd typed back. I have an early morning. Same, she'd replied. An hour is perfect. It was a lie they both believed just enough to agree. Now, sitting across from each other in a quiet restaurant with low lighting and linen napkins folded neatly between plates, he knows immediately they misjudged the problem. The problem isn't time. It's proximity. She looks the same and not at all the same. Hair a little shorter. Confidence worn more comfortably now, like something she no longer questions. When she smiles at him, it's familiar, but there's an added stillness to it, a calm that wasn't there before. You look good, she says, like it's a simple observation. So do you, he replies, equally honest. They order quickly. Neither of them wants the interruption later. So, she says, folding her hands lightly on the table. An hour. He smiles. An hour. They both glance at their phones, face down beside their plates, as if placing them there makes the limit real. The conversation starts easily. Work updates. Shared acquaintances. The harmless surface things people say when they're not sure how deep they're allowed to go yet. He tells a story about a project that went sideways. She laughs at the right places. She tells him about a move she's considering. He asks questions he actually wants the answers to. 10 minutes in, they're already past small talk. 20 minutes in, the food arrives, and they realize they've barely touched their drinks. You always did that, she says, nodding at his untouched glass. Forget it's there. Only when I'm paying attention, he replies. The words land heavier than he expects. She notices. Her expression shifts, not startled, just aware. They eat. The restaurant hums around them, low and unintrusive. Candles flicker gently between tables. Everything about the place encourages lingering without announcing itself as romantic. He checks his watch out of habit. 40 minutes left. Plenty of time. So why now? He asks, unable to keep the question back any longer. She doesn't pretend not to understand. She leans back slightly in her chair, considering him. I was thinking about you the other day, she says, and I realized we never actually ended anything. He nods slowly. We didn't. We just stopped, she adds. Life happened. Life tends to do that, he says. They sit with that truth for a moment. I didn't reach out sooner because I didn't know what I wanted this to be, she continues. And I didn't want to confuse you. I appreciate that, he says. But you didn't confuse me. Her gaze sharpens slightly. No. No, he says. I knew exactly what I felt. I just didn't know where it fit anymore. That honesty costs him something. He feels it as soon as the words leave his mouth. She does too. Her fingers curl slightly against the stem of her glass. I didn't expect this to feel so easy, she admits. It always did, he says. That's the problem. They eat more slowly now, conversation drifting into memories they both know they should be careful with. The night they stayed up talking until dawn. The time he walked her home in the rain. The almost moments they never named because naming them would have required choosing. He checks his watch again. 20 minutes. She notices this time. Already, she asks. Time moves faster than it used to, he says lightly. Or we're worse at pretending we don't notice it, she replies. He smiles at that. The waiter clears their plates. Asks if they'd like dessert. They both hesitate. No, he says first. Where? Yes, she says at the exact same time. They look at each other. She lifts an eyebrow. We said an hour. We didn't say anything about dessert. He laughs softly. That's technically true. Split something, she says. No commitment. No commitment, he agrees. The dessert arrives, something small, meant for sharing. She slides it gently toward the center of the table. Their hands brush as they both reach for a spoon. They pause. He pulls his hand back first. You go. She studies him for a beat, then takes the spoon, but doesn't pull it away. Instead, she angles it toward him. Together, she says. It's a simple word. Feels like a decision. They take a bite at the same time, laughing quietly at the awkwardness of it. This is how it happens, not with declarations or sudden intensity, but with small choices stacking on top of each other. He notices the way she leans in slightly when she talks now. She notices the way his attention never drifts from her face. He checks his watch again. 5 minutes. We should probably go, he says, and this time there's real reluctance in it. She nods. We should. They don't move. She finishes the last bite of dessert slowly, deliberately, then sets the spoon down. Well, she says, exhaling softly. That was an hour. He smiles. Exactly. They stand outside the restaurant a few minutes later. The night cooler than they expected. Streetlights cast long shadows on the pavement. The city feels quieter here. This was nice, she says. It was, he agrees. The moment stretches. They're standing too close for a casual goodbye, but neither of them steps back. I don't regret reaching out, she says. Neither do I, he replies. She hesitates, then adds, I don't think an hour was ever realistic. He chuckles. No, probably not. They walk together for a few steps before stopping again. The unspoken question hovering between them. I don't want this to turn into something confusing, she says carefully. I don't either, he replies. Which is why I don't want to pretend it didn't mean something. She looks up at him, searching. And what did it mean? She asks. He considers that. It meant, he says slowly, that whatever this was, it didn't disappear just because we gave it time. She nods, a small smile forming. Then maybe next time, she says, we don't put a clock on it. His heart beats a little harder at that. Next time, he says, I'd like that. They part then, not rushed, not dramatic. Just aware. As he walks away, he checks his watch one last time. They'd stayed nearly 2 hours. And neither of them had checked the time until it was already too late to pretend they hadn't wanted to stay longer. They don't text that night. Not because they don't want to, because both of them feel that familiar instinct to let something breathe before naming it. The dinner had already stretched past its intended limits. Letting it linger in silence feels intentional rather than avoidant. Still, the next morning he finds himself replaying small details without meaning to. The way she'd leaned in when she talked. The quiet confidence in her voice now. The ease with which old familiarity had resurfaced, layered with something more deliberate. By mid-afternoon he sends the message anyway. I keep thinking about last night. She replies a few minutes later. Me too. That's enough. They agree to meet again 2 days later. No hour limit this time. No artificial boundary. Just coffee somewhere quiet during the day, something that leaves less room for ambiguity. The cafe is smaller than the restaurant had been. Bright with natural light, wooden tables worn smooth by years of use. When she walks in, she spots him immediately. This time there's no hesitation. She smiles as she approaches, and he stands instinctively, not out of politeness but recognition. Hey, she says. Hey, he replies. They hug, brief, familiar but different from before. Her arms linger half a second longer than necessary. He notices. She notices him noticing. They sit across from each other, coffee between them. The daylight strips away some of the romance of the evening before, but not the clarity. I'm glad we did dinner first, she says after a moment. Why? He asks. Because now I know last night wasn't just nostalgia, she replies. It wasn't about the past. He nods. It felt present. Yes, she agrees. Very. They talk more directly now. About where they'd been. Why timing hadn't worked before. The choices they'd made without blaming circumstance or each other. I think I was afraid, she admits. Not of you, but of how easy it felt. Like if I leaned into it, everything else would rearrange. I get that, he says. I felt the same way. She watches him carefully. Do you still? He considers that honestly. A little, he admits. But less than I'd regret not finding out. That lands. She reaches for her cup. fingers brushing his again as he does the same. This time, neither of them pulls away immediately. They let the contact sit. I don't want this to turn into something rushed, she says. It won't, he replies. We're already doing this slowly. She smiles. We are. They leave the cafe together, walking without destination. It feels natural, like the continuation of a conversation that never really paused. Outside, the city hums softly. People pass. Life continues. They stop at a corner where their paths diverge. This is where we decide, she says lightly. Decide what? He asks. Whether this is another almost, she replies. Or something we actually step into. He looks at her, really looks. The familiarity, the honesty, the steadiness that hadn't existed before because neither of them had been ready for it. I don't want another almost, he says. Her breath slows. Neither do I, she says. The kiss that follows isn't dramatic. It's unhurried, certain. His hand settles gently at her waist. Hers rests against his chest. The contact feels grounding, anchored by conversation, by choice. When they part, she rests her forehead briefly against his. That felt, she starts. Right, he finishes. She nods. Yes. They don't rush into anything else. They don't need to. The clarity itself feels intimate. That evening, she invites him over. Not with ceremony, not with implication. Just honesty. Come by, she says. I don't want to pretend this doesn't exist. He arrives with the same steadiness he's carried all along. Inside her apartment, things feel familiar but changed. They sit on the couch, close but unhurried. Conversation drifts easily. At some point, she leans against him without thinking. He wraps an arm around her without hesitation. This is new, she murmurs. It is, he agrees. But not strange, she adds. No, he says. It feels settled. Later, when they kiss again, it deepens naturally, not because it has to, but because nothing is holding it back anymore. There's no confusion now. No wondering how something simple became complicated. It didn't. It became clear. They tried to confine it to an hour, to an explanation, to the past. But some connections don't disappear just because time passes. Some simply wait until both people are finally willing to stay.